Barbarian is a male fantasy, we all know that. But I think the character created by Robert E. Howard also embodies a very common female romantic fantasy, and it hinges on the same character trait. It comes down to this idea that civilization has corrupted men by allowing them to hide their bad intentions behind manners, social rituals, and or fancy words. I am talking about men here because that's who I typically see this trope applied to, but you can probably think of other examples. A recurring motif in all 21 Conan stories written by Howard is that the villains are civilized men who use the trappings of social graces and manners to hide their bad intentions and wicked deeds. So you have these secretly evil men who are very outwardly refined, well-spoken, and well-dressed, versus Conan, who's really uncouth, he's rough around the edges, and he thinks a loincloth is a complete outfit. He's super rude at times, but he says what he means, he keeps his word, and he is ultimately a man of great honor. This archetype is still very popular. There does seem to be this enduring belief that if someone appears perfect in public, they're probably hiding something. In the action-adventure genre, this could describe almost every male main character. Rough around the edges, often offensive, not very civilized, but ultimately a man of integrity. Geralt of Rivia fits this. Vasher in Warbreaker. Uhtred of Bebbanburg in the Saxon Chronicles, I would say also meets most of this criteria. In romance novels, it is a very common trope where you will have a hero, a male love interest, who is not particularly refined. Quite the opposite. So he will be rude and loud and behave in a way that is ungentlemanly toward the heroine in the beginning. But when it comes down to it, he says what he means what he says, and he doesn't prey on the weak. So he might be rude, and he might make situations awkward, but he's not going to hurt anyone who doesn't deserve it, and he is not a sexual predator. This is something that is explicitly addressed in a Conan the Barbarian short story by Robert E. Howard, where Conan encounters this runaway concubine who has fled from the harem she was in. And she's like terrified of Conan when she first meets him, and he is not very nice to her. But Conan never hurts her despite being physically able to, and he ends up protecting her without requiring anything in return. And so in her internal monologue, she compares Conan to the men who kept her in the harem and who assaulted her in the harem. Through her internal monologue, we learn that these men had all these trappings of culture and civilization. They were so educated, they were so well-spoken, they were so charming, but then behind closed doors, they were assaulting women. Versus Conan, who is a jerk in public. But he's not going to go further than saying mean things with someone who can't fight back. I see versions of this archetype in a lot of romance novels and in a lot of romantic leads. Curran in the Kate Daniels series fits this archetype really well. He is very rude when he and Kate first meet. He says and does some pretty upsetting things. He never wears suits, like you're lucky if you ever see him in a button-down shirt. But he keeps his word, he protects the weak, and he never uses his power or strength to exploit anyone. Another example is Saxon Priest in Road to Fire. Saxon's nickname is Savage because he's just so brutal and effective at his job. He is rude, he makes things super uncomfortable with Isla when they first meet, but like he never hurts her, and when they do have their spicy encounters, everything is very consensual. I would say Tar in Warbride also fits this archetype. He's like a shirtless fire unicorn riding warlord, but still very noble, very honorable, far more honorable than the fancy schmancy mage who tries to seduce Ilsevel at the start of the book. You can probably think of many other examples of this archetype, both in the action-adventure genre, in the romance genre, and others. What I am calling the Conan the Barbarian archetype remains so popular across so many genres because of this collective hunger we have for friends, leaders, and romantic partners who are trustworthy, who are honest about their intentions, and who have integrity. Especially in the digital age, when it is easier than ever for people to curate how they are presented, we are experiencing this collective yearning for authenticity and truth, even if it includes a bit of rudeness. I think Conan will be around for a while.